Thanks for staying tuned to your station, the African Independent Television, and welcome to your program, Security Watch Africa, only on this channel. And on this program, we'll bring you that information you need to keep your life safe and secured. Welcome to your program today. My name still remains Patrick Abambo. We will be looking at a number of issues arising from security in Nigeria and the outcome of the 17th Africa Security Watch Conference that took place in the Gambia. Some of the comments made by our lead speakers, we believe that it's important that you get to know about it, as the ECOWAS Commission and that of the SADC, the Southern Africa Development Commission, and the African Union Political Affairs, Peace and Security are looking into implementing some of the resolutions. So we need to be able to keep abreast on what is being said. Yes, I must also use this opportunity to commend the Department of State Security for the action they took to rescue Nigerians from the recurring fuel queues that was crippling economic and social activities of Nigerians in Lagos and Abuja particularly. The reports we're getting now is that filling stations have begun to sell fuels to people without any holding any longer. That is a good move. That is being proactive, just like the DSS did say. They have to take a proactive measure to prevent what will have turned out to become a national disaster. Yes. During the week, we said that the Nigerian Army will be having the Chief of Army Staff Annual Conference 2022. It was held in Sokoto, and the Commander-in-Chief, President Muhammadu Buhari, was there in person, and he made a promise to ensure that the Nigerian Army Aviation kickstart. That is a move that was started by the former Chief of Army Staff, talking about Lieutenant General Tukur Yusuf Buratai, to be able to give the Nigerian Army that push to be able to respond to any situation at quickest time. And it's good that the President has said that he will make sure that this unit of the Nigerian Army is operationalized. I'm sure that should be done before May 29, 2023. So, but let's bring you that report as put together by Shuli Daniels, who was in Sokoto and witnessed the conference.
The Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, has pledged to maintain the continuous modernization of the Nigerian Army through the activation of the Nigerian Army Air Wing to strongly address the security challenges facing the nation. The President made this pledge at the opening ceremony of the Chief of Army Staff 2022 Annual Conference with the theme, Building a Professional Nigerian Army for the 21st Century Security Environment, held at the International Conference Center in Sokoto State.
It is evident that the ongoing progressive modernization of the Nigerian Army under our administration has greatly improved the capacities as well as combat efficiency of service to discharge its roles. I wish to commend the Chief of Army Staff and other service chiefs, as well as heads of various security agencies, for your determination and improved synergy in accomplishing my directives. I am confident that the renewed vigor and standard injected in your operations, as well as our collective resolve and improved civil-military relations, would enable us to achieve our desired objectives. I wish to now reiterate that the provision of security to Nigerians will continue to receive premium attention by this administration. Accordingly, deliberate actions are going to provide the necessary support to enhance our national security. Numerous equipment and facilities have been provided to boost the capability of the Nigerian Army and by extension, the armed forces. Sufficient intervention will be made to fast-track the activation of the Nigerian Army Aviation.
While commending the Nigerian Army for maintaining the peace in the country, he noted that the federal government will continue to sustain robust policies towards the improvement of the Nigerian Army and the armed forces of Nigeria. In his speech, the executive governor of Sokoto State, Aminu Tambuwa, praised the Nigerian Army and other security agencies for its effort in establishing peace and security in Sokoto State.
On behalf of the good people of Sokoto State, express our appreciation for the tireless efforts of the Nigerian Army and other services of the armed forces, as well as other security agencies, toward the re-establishment of peace in Sokoto State. And similarly, let me also thank and appreciate the collective contribution of all of the service chiefs, Inspector General of Police, and all heads of security agencies, and through them, their personnel, toward the improvement of general security situation in the Northwest, and in particular in Sokoto State.
The Minister of Defense, Major General Bashir Magashi, retired, in his remarks, noted that the Nigerian Army has contributed immensely towards combating insecurity in the country. He urged commanders to take advantage of the conference to profile practicable solutions to the security challenges confronting Nigeria.
It is necessary to take the unique advantage of this conference offers to profile reasonable and workable solutions to the numerous challenges ahead. The Nigerian Army has taken training to another level, where numerous training activities are conducted to prepare troops for evolving security challenges. Training innovation in the Army has seen a combination of training exercises and operations, which have earned tremendous achievement to the Nigerian Army operations.
In his opening address, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya, noted that the year 2022 has been eventful for the Nigerian Army, while stating some of the achievements recorded by the Nigerian Army during the year 2022.
The year 2022 has been eventful for the Nigerian Army, particularly in the operational front, with concerted efforts sustained to defend the territorial integrity of the nation. On the external front, our troops have maintained close liaison with the forces of our neighboring countries, and the general security situation around our contiguous borders has remained relatively calm. Our involvement and leadership in the regional, multinational, and joint task force has continued to provide the desired direction for collective action toward decisively dealing with the menace of terrorism and other cross-border criminalities. In the home front, the major threats of terrorism, banditry, and insurgency have persisted but are largely contained across the country. Tremendous efforts have been made throughout the year to improve the general security, and positive results have been achieved in all theaters of operation.
Shirley Daniels, reporting for Security Watch Africa.
Yeah, welcome back. Yeah, he had it there. That was what happened at the opening ceremony. By next edition of this program, God willing, next week we'll bring you the closing ceremony, the closing activities, and some other civil military projects that were carried out during the conference. Yes, let's take you now to the Gambia, where Ernest Eneneku put together a report on what happened, the highlights of some of the things, the presentations made by Professor Henry Fouché, Chairman Conference Faculty, Security Watch Africa Initiatives, where he talked about what has been done or what is being done in to enhance blue economy, the maritime domain. Sit back as we bring you this report.
The 2022 Africa Security Watch Conference, which held in the Gambia with the theme Post-COVID-19, Sustaining Security in Africa, was targeted at providing actionable solutions to the myriads of security challenges confronting the continent of Africa. The conference had paper presentations from professionals in the security sector and governance across the continent, among whom was Professor Henry Fouché of Stellenbosch University, South Africa, and Chairman, Conference Faculty, Security Watch Africa Initiatives. Professor Fouché, during his paper presentation, spoke on countering crime in Africa's maritime domain, law enforcement intervention. He noted that the sea is one of Africa's richest treasure in deposits and transportation of goods and services from one country to another.
Africa's maritime domain is the lifeblood of the economy. It's central to both food security and food sovereignty. Imports and exports are central to our development, and our dependence in the African continent highlights the importance of the maritime domain and stresses the necessity to maintain good order.
He, however, highlighted impediments stopping Africa from tapping from the benefits of the sea.
Illegal activities at sea may include arms and drug smuggling, human trafficking, smuggling migrants, illegal and unreported, unregulated fishing, pollution at sea, illicit oil and fuel activities, and of course armed robbery of ships and piracy. Now, law enforcement agencies should bear in mind that when they are investigating maritime crimes, these crimes are transnational in nature and they are connected to organized crime.
Environmental crimes, which include illegal oil activity at the sea, which has harmful impact on the maritime environment, and the proceeds used most times to sponsor transnational organized crime, are byproducts of illegalities perpetrated by high-level criminal syndicates.
The Niger Delta lies at the epicenter of the Gulf of Guinea's maritime crime, where crude oil is stolen from tankers and pipelines to set up illegal refineries. Weak law enforcement, corruptible officials, and a largely unregulated oil market make it easy for criminal organizations to move illegally refined products back onto the legitimate markets. The lack of capacity is also due to the interfacement with organized crime. Maritime crime as conduct perpetrated wholly or partly at sea is highlighted by the land-maritime relationship between the tanker syndicates, corrupt officials as indicative of interfaced crime.
According to him, it is not all gloomy, as some national navy forces have tackled insecurity on the sea headlong.
Due to the transnational nature of this type of organized crime, cooperation between agencies nationally and across borders is necessary. In this regard, the International Chamber of Commerce's Piracy Reporting Center has praised the work of the Nigerian Navy and NIMSA in providing timeless information, actions, and cooperation between agencies. The Stable Seas Maritime Security Index supports this assertion by recording a score of 75 for maritime enforcement and 89 for international cooperation for Nigeria, 100 being the highest and 0 the lowest. So that is an excellent...
Professor Henry Fouché made some recommendations that would better improve safety on the maritime sector.
The actionable solutions which I would suggest is to successfully counter crime in Africa's maritime domain. Law enforcement agencies must ensure that the necessary laws to make international law applicable within their states' maritime zones and to people and vessels of their states have been passed to validate maritime law enforcement and prosecutions in relation to breaches of those laws by their state. Nigeria has all those laws, but not all the states have those laws. The law was passed in 2019. To counter possibly inaccurate and negative perceptions surrounding the capability of law enforcement to deal with maritime crime, statistics regarding arrests and prosecutions should be available in the public domain. If We need to know how many prosecutions have taken place. We can probably find out how many arrests. We need to know the success of the operation, whether they were successfully prosecuted. Transparency in this regard may assist in identifying possible shortcomings in the system. A known track record of successful prosecutions will debunk the perception maritime crime can be committed with impunity and also serve as a deterrent for future offending.
Ernest Enuneku, Security Watch Africa.
Come back. Yes, you had him there. Well, because the blue economy is the next wave of the economy worldwide. That is the biggest economy in the coming future, the nearest future, and it must be encouraged and security must be provided. Yes, let's go quickly to the lead presentation made by the Nigeria's Chief of Naval Staff, talking about Vice Admiral Zubairu Gambo, Awal Zubairu Gambo, where he talked about what Nigerian Navy is doing, as collaborated by Professor Henry Fouché. Sit back as we'll bring you this report again by Ernest Enuneku.
Still on maritime security domain, the lead paper presentation by Nigeria's Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Awal Zubairu Gambo, gave insight into the challenges faced by national naval forces in tackling insecurity on the sea. Admiral Gambo, while speaking on the Nigerian Navy's experience at countering piracy in the African waters, pointed out some of these challenges.
Akin to these positive values are the emergence of broad range of threats from non-state actors, which include terrorism, piracy, and crude oil theft. Others include illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, as well as proliferation of small arms and weapons. Additionally, the growing concern of cyber security in the maritime domain due to growing attacks on ships' networks, communication and navigation systems, create a new dimension of threats to maritime activities, and indeed Nigeria is not an exception.
The naval chief highlighted some of the achievements of the Nigerian Navy under his leadership.
It is noteworthy to state that 11 piracy incidents were recorded in 2021 within the Gulf of Guinea compared to 44 in 2020. Similarly, there was a decline in pirates attacks and sea robbery in Nigeria's waters, where the country reported only 11 pirate incidents and sea robberies in 2021 compared to 22 pirate incidents and 16 sea robberies in 2020. This eventually led to delisting Nigeria from list of piracy-prone countries as conveyed in the International Maritime Bureau report of 3rd March this year.
For the sustenance of the achievements recorded by the Nigerian Navy, Admiral Gambo had this to say.
The Nigerian Navy is galvanizing heads of Gulf of Guinea navies and Coast Guard towards the establishment of a combined maritime task force for stability in the Gulf of Guinea. Accordingly, a working document named Port Harcourt Document was developed during the last International Maritime Conference held in May this year, hosted by the Nigerian Navy in Rivers State. The document is currently being considered as a roadmap for the operationalization of the Gulf of Guinea Task Force. In addition, the Nigerian Navy has designated 2 vessels and 1 helicopter for deployment to support ECOWAS standby force. These will no doubt enhance a more secure maritime space in Africa.
In answering some of the questions by some participants on the issue of destruction of seized crude oil tankers by the Navy and other law enforcement agencies, the naval chief gave this answer.
I tell you, the Nigerian situation needs punitive measures for punitive actions we take to sabotage ourselves. The issue of destruction of those vessels, I will just give you one example because I don't want to go deep into that. It became a last option to destroy those equipment, because from those communities, there are youth leaders, parents, chiefs, and all that could, admonish or bring to other whoever is involved in all these illegalities. But they don't. The issue has always been our oil. Have you not heard that? The issue is our oil and all that. But what does it do to your economy?
Ernest Enuneku, Security Watch Africa, the Gambia.
Welcome back. Still staying in the Gambia and the 17th Africa Security Watch Conference. Ernest Enuneku brings us a report on the presentation by the Executive Governor of Akwa Ibom State, Udom Emmanuel, on where he spoke on governance and leadership. Sit back.
Good leadership, no doubt, is a prerequisite for growth and development in any society. And for there to be growth and development, leaders must ensure that there exists a measure of security of lives and property of its citizens. This was asserted to by the Executive Governor of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria, Mr. Udom Emmanuel, during his paper presentation with the theme, Sustaining Security in Africa Through Good Governance, Panacea Against Insecurity.
Africa, especially West Africa, where we are, will not actually experience growth, investment, foreign direct investment in the direction that we expect if we don't tackle the problem of insecurity. Why? Because money is a coward. It does not go to where it does not feel secure. It's a big coward, what you call money. And money is what you use to develop a whole lot of places.
Governor Udom stated that Africa as a continent must change the way it sees governance and the process it takes to get into public offices, saying Africa has to look inward in order to solve most of its challenges.
Africa's importance in global security here will never be overstressed, which is also why I like a summit like this. African countries will represent about 16% of the world's population. And I think we are growing, if not even very soon, because a lot of countries in Europe, they don't allow for population growth any longer. So we hold the second largest number of seats in United Nations Security Council. Check, Africa has the largest, most unified bloc in the United Nations General Assembly. So the world cannot afford to ignore Africa. We need to actually fix few things right. And we can never tackle the level of insecurity and security challenges that we have if we don't look at this governance in the direction in which I'm looking at and in which perspective I'm also talking about. So the world will never, and at the same time, Africa should also look inwards. Let's also look at ourselves. Let's also look at things that can work for Africa, not things that we just borrow. We still have some distance to cover. Many African countries are yet to undertake the kind of reforms that could checkmate abuse of power, stop corruption, and reverse economic decline. And when we are talking about good governance, we just keep chasing the shadows. The day we put processes, systems, procedures, structures in place, trust me, what we chase after, the so-called corruption, this and that, will actually, take care of itself. In Africa, we want to develop everything that we have based on cash. If we do that, we will not grow. We will not grow. There's a difference between cash and money. We must learn how to create money to develop what we need. Infrastructure anywhere in the whole world is not developed with cash. It's developed with money. And there's a difference between money and cash. So we now looked at how can we create money to actually move forward. I can conveniently say here, by the time we established the first subnational airline in Africa called Ibom Air, the only subnational in the whole of Africa with a commercial airline, we did not have, let me say, $100 in our account. But we looked for a way to create money. And we started. And the first set of aircraft that came in was Sierra 900. Then we grew to 5. And then we now started adding Airbuses. And last year, in a global conference of the entire aviation industry in the whole world, the only subnational across the globe that Airbus could sign an agreement with was with Akwa Ibom.
He spoke on the Akwa Ibom State experience and what he has done to sustain security in the states.
When we came into office, we said that look at the fundamentals. What will help us minimize this? Actually, our plan was actually twofold. One, we had what I call zero tolerance for security breaches And we put top-notch security equipment and robust intelligence gathering processes in place to take care of this. 2, we provided good governance underpinned by poverty reduction strategies. Poverty reduction strategies designed particularly for youths. We also saw the need to reduce the level of unemployment in the state by establishing industries, creating things that would disrupt people, and then also encourage collaboration between different security agencies. In my state, if you come in, you see a major handshake between all. Every security agent works, they all work together. You see a goal of synergetic effect between Navy, Army, Police, Air Force, Civil Defense, all of them. And we are able to create that sense of ownership that, look, what affects one affects all. If one person bleeds, we are all bleeding. If one person is not asleep, we cannot all be asleep. And that had actually helped us.
Ernest Enuneku, Security Watch Africa.
That will be all for this week. Join us again next week when we'll bring you another exciting edition on this, and we'll continue with presentations. Next week we will hear from other lead speakers. Until we come here again next week, I say thanks for staying tuned and bye for now.